location has not been set. Kim is also slated to meet with his South Korean counterpart, President Moon Jae-in, at the end of April. Dean Cheng is from the Heritage Foundation. He joins me now with more on the upcoming meetings. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
First and foremost, I kind of want to get your take on China's path in all this. Does it sort of remind you of Kim Jong-un's father and then the president of China's father meeting? I mean, I see you say it was in 2000, so it was, what, almost 18 years ago that they met? Does this sort of remind you of that meeting at all, or what's the significance?
Well, I think the significance here is that this is the first time that Kim Jong-un has apparently left the country at all. He's doing this almost sort of shoehorning it in before the meetings with the South Korean president and the American president. So we think that what this is doing is, on the one hand, sort of giving Xi Jinping a readout of what he's expecting to talk about. But I think it's also quite possible that this was an interesting negotiating ploy. Kim Jong-un may well have gone to China to say, look, I'm going to meet the South Koreans, I'm going to meet the Americans. You, China, have kept sanctions up on me. We don't appreciate that. What are you going to give me so that I don't sort of start going to the Americans and the South Koreans and see if I can get a better deal?
Which you would argue that China's closest to North Korea because they trade with them probably more than any other country. Is that what?
That's part of it, but also part of it is that China ultimately is North Korea's sort of, in a weird way, sponsor. China intervened to support them in the past, and China is the one country that really can make or break Kim Jong-un.
Do you have any clarity after the meeting? Your interpretation. There really wasn't they met, and I'm not sure that we got a comprehensive readout of their, if anything, really, we didn't get much.
No, two authoritarian regimes with state-owned media are just not going to have much in the way. But what is interesting is noting where the two sides actually reported things differently. So the North Korean press never mentioned the word denuclearization. And there have been some interesting discussions about sort of, it's too much to call it even spin, but just what did each side omit from their public official readout.
The Prime Minister of Japan is expected to come to the United States, if I'm not mistaken, next month. Japan's role in all this, they have a vested interest. Why?
Well, historically, Korea has been described as a dagger aimed at Japan. The security of Korea directly affects the security of Japan, and vice versa, of course. Japan is one of our most important allies in the region. So I think that it's long been recognized that we and the Japanese need to coordinate our policies regarding North Korea in the same way that we and South Korea need to coordinate. Now, of course, South Korea has even more of a vested interest. But Japan is where we have a lot of bases and is the third largest economy. And a bad situation there could start creating really unpredictable consequences.
We don't have much time, but I anticipate we won't have a lot of clarity on a meeting date, a location, all of those details, especially when you see two heads of state come together. It's sort of a show, and we talk about it beforehand. That, not so much with this meeting that could take place between the president and the North Korean leader.
Oh, no. If anything, this is going to be even more important because every single detail will probably be negotiated over. When you look at the Korean War truce talks, we fought for months over the shape of the table.
Wow. Well, Dean, I wish we had more time. It's really interesting, but I'm getting the computer to cut me off. So thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate it. Leland?
All right, coming up, the new Cold War with Russia gets icier, and not just with Vladimir Putin taking his shirt off. When the diplomatic war turns into something a little bit worse.